Today joining us is Nikki Begg from Bermuda Bride and Plan Your Wedding Today. Nikki is a world-renowned wedding planner and one of the top wedding planners in the world. Welcome, Nikki.
Welcome, Joanne. Thank you so much for inviting me onto the show.
We are so excited to have you today, Nikki, because just for our audience, we are recording this in the current time of the pandemic. So the amazing Nikki is going to be really coming up with some thoughts and ideas to help people who were going to have a wedding this year that may now not be happening, and to talk about her program, Plan Your Wedding Today, that maybe, well, I don't think it's not maybe, it's definitely going to be exceptionally helpful to help you plan a wedding next year. So Nikki, thank you so much for joining us today. I want us to focus on what we can do in the current climate if your wedding is cancelled. You are currently in the position of supporting all your clients to reorganize their wedding. What are the top 3 actions you recommend taking straight away if you're having to reorganize your wedding?
So the first thing that we absolutely encourage brides to think about is really managing their mindset. And it isn't cancelled. You will still get married. Love is not cancelled. We are simply postponing it. So the core things that we really need to do straight away is to think about, one, what does that look like? How does that impact your guest list? How does it impact your budget? So step 1 are the core people that you really need to be there, still going to be able to make that new date. So check in with parents, siblings, all those besties that you couldn't imagine that day being without. And at the same time, check in with your venue and key vendors, industry partners. So if your wedding, you absolutely wanted to have the most phenomenal photographer, the most phenomenal smoky rub, they couldn't imagine it without this chef. And so we had to plan the wedding around his availability, his new availability. So once you've married up, no pun intended, the date that your immediate family and important friends can make it, as well as those core vendors you can't imagine doing your wedding without, let your guests know.
How have you found it, Nikki? Because Nikki, I think it's important to let people know you're on the island of Bermuda.
Yes.
So how has travel impacted kind of brides and grooms, we shouldn't forget the groom, brides and grooms rescheduling their plans? How has that impacted things, and what are the things that you've seen them be really challenged with in this moment in time?
I think the biggest things that have really kind of emotionally challenged is we just don't know when this is going to end.
Yeah.
So the core things that we are actually doing is, as people are making new plans and hopefully going with a date that will happen, is check in with, when you book that flight, sometimes they do web specials, get the one that allows that cancellation clause.
Yeah.
When you have a look, when you're rescheduling the hotel arrangements, have a look at something called the attrition date. So while most of the hotels are being super flexible, and we call it lift and shift. We lift up the whole event and we shift it to a completely new date. Yeah. But that also means that that hotel booking, that block, needs to be available for your guests. And what you will find is that we handle predominantly destination weddings, that with people flying in, I think it's really knocked people behind the knees, and they don't know that they want to travel. So what we're finding is that your guest list may naturally cut back ever so slightly because of this, and for more reasons than just people being concerned about traveling. So I do think that it will be some time. A lot of brides are literally just postponing their wedding to 2021. And we are encouraging brides to think outside of the box, because that's my specialty. Is just because you were thinking about Friday, Saturday, Sunday, think about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Think about an alternative date, because the brides who are thinking about getting married next year may have already booked their hotel, booked their photographer. So you want to make sure that your core industry partners and that hotel is available on that new date. And let's explore having that date not necessarily on a traditional Saturday.
Nikki, I think that's a really, such a golden nugget, because I would never have thought of that. Because like I say, quite a lot of people will have potentially have looked in their dates for 2021. And I think it's that flexibility in mindset. That's one of the things that I'm really taking away from what you've just said.
I think we have to step away from, there's something that we constantly look at, which is, what is the big picture here? The big picture is two people are getting married.
Yeah.
Does it really matter the day, unless there is a romantic reason? Who are the people that really need to be there? And as long as those things happen, what are your priorities? So as long as we can accomplish that, so they have all of the things that were sort of their non-negotiables. Yeah. That's really what, if we can accomplish that, then what does success look like to them? What does, and once we've honed in on that and we can honor that, then the bride is thrilled.
Oh gosh, yeah. And I would recommend anybody goes and has a look at Bermuda Bride and Nikki's website to look at the amazing, stunning weddings that Nikki pulls together. They are breathtaking.
Thank you. It's actually quite funny because you're thinking about it. I've done 3 weddings now in hurricanes. I have done, but I've never done one in a situation like this. We've had to literally hours before the morning of a wedding, the tent, there was a gale cyclone that went through a particular area. The whole tent was destroyed. And literally we had 7 hours to relocate a whole event, including the catering, including the design. So, we have to be flexible. And actually, it's very liberating. Yeah. You've done the hard work. Brides really have identified what other things. So it's just, how do we make those other bits come into play?
You are the queen of lift and shift and make beautiful things in my book. The queen of it. So Nikki, you just touched on a little bit earlier, non-negotiables. Yep. Now, what may or may not happen, we don't know, is that your wedding may lift and shift and may look slightly different, but you've established, the things that are really important to you. But it may be that your budget is slightly amended for certain reasons. If that budget is amended, what would be the non-negotiables that you would get people to think about investing in to make it a great day for them?
I go back to what's important to them, because what's a non-negotiable for me isn't a non-negotiable for someone else.
Yeah.
What I do know is that when they walk down that aisle and when they get their photo, when they go through the whole day and they listen to the music and they eat the food and they have the photographs when they come back, if what is important to them isn't there as part of that memory, they will feel a pang of regret. So for me, it would be photography, because I do think that what we believe about an event is translated through that photography. So it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that person was there. And you just relive the whole day through the experience of seeing this beautiful album. For some people, it's food and wine. They want to just savor every moment, and they want this incredible food and wine pairing. And like, I want to have chocolate brownies. That would be a non-negotiable for me. With chocolate chips in them.
So my non-negotiable would be one of your tents with the beautiful lighting. That would be a non-negotiable for me.
And I want people, so for me, and what we're finding now is, you're absolutely right, it's about creating an experience. So a non-negotiable for a bride and groom may well be creating the most jaw-dropping, phenomenal experience. And that comes back down to budget. Yeah. So you've got to do this very delicate balancing act between what can we now afford?
Yeah.
And it's not about affording. Let me correct myself. It's not about affording. What do we want to spend on our wedding?
Yes. Yeah. And I think we could go further, couldn't it? Because I think money conversations are going to be really pertinent after we've got through this period in time. And I think money conversations are absolutely vital and valid at any moment in time, but I think they're going to be more prominent due to what we've been experiencing. Is there kind of a way to set out a budget, Nikki, or is there kind of like a formula for it?
There is. And if someone is rescheduling their wedding, then the formula has already been put in place. And this is one of the things that we offer to really help create an amazing wedding day. Because what you want to do is walk down the aisle knowing that everything's been paid, you didn't take out a loan, you don't owe any money, and everything was financially manageable. So what we do is we actually create what is your target budget. We know generally per location what a cost is per person. So if it was $100,000 and they were having 100 people, that would equate to X amount of dollars per person. So when the guest list changes, when it increases or decreases, do you really want to spend $1,000 per person or $700 per person? So what does that really look like? And what are the things, that are important to them that they don't want to move financially on? So when we're planning a wedding, we get those things done first. So if it's the food, if it's the photographer, if it's the design, I began a company last year called Big Fish Events, and we became the exclusive provider for Sperry tents. So the beauty of that is really, I was very frustrated by spending so much money on tent design, but if we could change the layout, if we could change how the location was presented, and the tents are so beautiful that it needs very little. You can just take it as is, or you can embellish. But I think it goes back to, what is our target budget? How many people are we inviting? What does that equate to per person? So a good 40% of your cost is your food and wine.
Wow.
So if it was $700 per person, that, and of course the pound equivalent is probably around 500 and something pounds. Yeah. That 250 pounds is already going to food and wine. And what we're finding with millennials is that their focus for a reception is very much more on the alcohol. And so it really does come down to budgeting for that properly. And we get into whether it's the vagaries of a bar, whether it's consumption or whether it's a set cost, whether it's open plan. So we do really, let's prep for that. And what I always, a little secret, take your budget, take off 10% right off the top, put it in your back pocket.
I like that.
It's kind of a profit first analogy.
It is, yeah. Yes. Profit first, just to give sidebar, profit first is Mike Michalowicz's process for making sure you have great cash flow always in your business. So we love it. We work by it and we love it.
We live and breathe by it. So I apply this to weddings. Inevitably, something will come up. You need a spare pair of shoes. Something will happen. And that way you've got the money just in case.
Yeah. Because there is, I think, mindset around weddings in general is a very, I think we've all had friends who've had bridezilla moments. We've all been there. We've had
momzilla moments too.
Groomzillas. There's the zilla moments. Yeah. What do you think when you're working with your brides and when you're working with your people in your Plan Your Wedding Today program? What is some of the mindset that you really help and guide them to engaging in, Nikki?
When I find that people get stressed when they don't feel in control and when they don't understand something. Yeah. So they're receiving information, but they don't know where it fits into the whole scheme of things, or they're worried about what someone else might think, and they can't really explain because they don't truly understand. So the whole point, especially in these sort of crazy times that we're living in, is Plan Your Wedding Today really breaks down section by section by section so it educates And it liberates. Oh, I must write that down.
Educates and liberates.
Yes, because when you understand something, then you can justify it.
Yeah.
So then you feel in control.
Yes. Yeah.
And then when you understand, then you can make, and we call it making an informed decision.
Yeah.
So you see how all of the bits come into play, how the whole day comes together, so that you really can have the most amazing, stress-free, enjoyable wedding day. And once you know that everything is being managed because you've gone through those downloadable checklists, you go, yep, that's done. And you can simply hand it over and be present for every moment of your wedding day.
Oh, so important, isn't it? I think that's missed quite a lot sometimes.
Oh, yes.
What I know is that your program, Plan Your Wedding Today, really helps people get the balance and be present, but also have the wedding of their dreams. And then on the day, be able to say, here's all the checklists, this is the running order, go for it.
Yeah, and what we do is the final part is creating that timeline so that all of the vendors, everybody, whoever's your point person that day, you know it's all done. And that really is such a valuable. And the other benefit of Plan Your Wedding Today is they can get one-on-one Zoom time with me. So for everyone who is enrolling, we're doing it for the first 10 people who are enrolling. You get half an hour with me to just go through and talk through your wedding plans and whatever hiccups, as well as every week there's a Zoom call they can drop in. The other part, which I'm kind of excited about, is that we're bringing in industry partners. So a stationery specialist, an etiquette specialist, a florist, a photographer, so that it's, you know, I've been very fortunate. I've been planning weddings for 20 years. I am a qualified florist. I used to have my own little floral boutique. I have a degree in food and wine pairing, but I still learn.
Can I just add something? And you're also one of the top 25 wedding planners in the world. Most important.
Well, thank you. I kind of forget about that when I'm doing, you know, emptying the garbage bins, you know, and stuff like that. But hey, yeah. So I'm very, very fortunate. There are very few wedding planners who have stood the test of time. Yeah. This isn't for the faint-hearted, and so what's so amazing is wedding planners. To hire a wedding planner, it can be expensive. By creating Plan Your Wedding Today, we're able to give brides all of our expertise, as well as access to all of these resources, the resources that we have available to us. We give that to any brides or grooms who are enrolling, so that they can have literally their own little, we're calling it the little blue book. So, and it's all going to be under the platform of Something Blue. So that website is launching, something.blue. That's going to be launching in about 3 weeks.
Wonderful. So just to give us a quick breakdown, Plan Your Wedding Today, because this is, for me, I think this is going to be an incredible program for people who are going to have to lift and shift, whether it's your budget, your location, your guests, the fact that, you know, you're having to maybe rethink the whole thing. Give us a quick breakdown of the different subject matters that you tackle in Plan Your Wedding Today.
So begin at the beginning, how to create a guest list, who's coming, who's allowed to come, financial. That's a huge component because that kind of allows everything to dovetail into that. Yeah. The stationery suite, creating a memorable, oh my gosh, that's, as I live and breathe, I love paper. So the whole stationery suite is quite wonderful. It is about creating, you know, finding the right photographer. Do you need drone videography? How to create a memorable ceremony? Should you write your own vows? What are the accents that you want to have in the ceremony? And everything from seating to what should the minister wear? And I know this sounds absolutely crazy.
No.
But for a beach wedding, for example, you want the minister to be wearing something that coordinates You don't want him to be wearing red if it's all pastel red Bermuda shorts, for example, if everyone's wearing pastels. So it's all of those little details. And we have a little tip box at the bottom. From the ceremony, what happens, what readings, how do you choose so from the ceremony, then to cocktails, we talk about transportation as well. How do we get everybody from what point? Who needs to go in what kind of transport? What kind of transportation is required for the ceremony? Signature cocktails, bar, hors d'oeuvres. How do you create that perfect complement of hors d'oeuvres? How many hors d'oeuvres do you need? How many bars do you need? How many bartenders? So, and then how do you design the reception? What kind of music? So music for ceremony, cocktails, reception, the after party. Wow.
We planned
the whole wedding.
Yeah, I have been a persistent personal wedding dodger. And Nikki knows this. Whenever I sit to her, like, Nikki, you make me want to get married.
Well, also how to create that. One of the things at the beginning, how to create your mood board.
Yeah.
So how do you know that the colors? And one of the most important things I want to share, by having clarity about what you want your wedding day to look like, you can back it out so that every decision you make supports that vision.
Yes.
And then you don't get bombarded with shiny object syndrome.
Yes, that's right. It's like when we talk about objectives and meeting objectives, and it's like every time you pick up a task, how does this play to the vision that you have for your wedding? How does this product play? Does this really fit? Or is it just the fact that I'm getting all giddy and I'm going to end up 25 to 50% over budget because I've not stayed on the vision?
So we call that the lifeboat analogy.
Yeah.
It's a wedding lifeboat. Unless it goes in the lifeboat, you don't have it. You don't choose it. It doesn't come. So you need your groom. You need the rings. I mean, what is it? You need your marriage license. So what is it you really need to have? And then you can embellish from there. And one of the things that we've actually, I'm working with an amazing course creator, everyone is at different stages of their wedding.
Yeah.
So this way, the beautiful thing about Plan Your Wedding Today is you only sign up for the modules or the chapters, as we're calling them, that you want to take part in. If you've already got your stationary suite, you don't need that part. So you can either have the whole masterclass or just the sections that are important to you. So you can either start at the beginning, and that's really kind of important, especially at times like this when money is fragile, and we're deeply respectful of that. Only, just like a wedding, only pay for the things that are important to you.
Yeah. And I think it comes back to that thing, isn't it? It's about creating this relationship with finances and money.
Oh,
and I think having a wedding can be the most perfect time that you reevaluate your whole relationship with money and still create an amazing experience that you will treasure a lifetime.
And one of the issues that we have, is that we have a bizarre relationship with money, especially to identify who's supporting the cost of the budget. Are you paying for the wedding? So as women, sometimes we struggle to ask for money, to even discuss money.
Yes. Yeah.
So one of the things that I love doing is, when I wrapped my head around it, is when my assistant says, "Oh, Nikki, would you, if I was heading out, would you pick something up?" And I said, "Yes, that will be $492. If someone says, 'Oh, can you just shut the door?' Not a problem. That's $9,432,000. So because it's just numbers, and we associate an emotion to those numbers.
Yeah.
But by having clarity and having honest, frank conversations, that's what people want. We're not mind readers.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's having honest, frank conversations with yourself about your wedding budget.
Yes.
And any of the parties that are involved. So if there's any other parties that are contributing, making sure that we're having very honest conversations with those as well.
And I wish I knew that when I first got married when I was 20. My father gave me a budget, and I actually spent 80% of it on my wedding dress.
I bet it was such a beautiful wedding dress, wasn't it? I bet it was the most beautiful wedding dress.
But I thought, get married, I need a wedding dress. I didn't really think beyond that, because you don't know what the expenses are.
Well, you don't know what you don't know. And I think with a wedding, I think that's one of the things that, we hear, I hear from talking with friends that have got married. You don't know all the different nuances. So you just make this decision about this thing that seems like a great thing to have. And then you realize there's another 72 more decisions to make that you need budget for, so I think plan your wedding today helps you go, right, you need this, 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 and here's your budget, and how are we now going to spread this across all the things that are really important to you.
And by seeing it in a spreadsheet, because what we do is we put the budget in, we divide it by the number of people, and then it shows you, as you plot all of those approximate items out, it shows you if you're under budget or over budget. So when you go over budget, it shows you, okay, what are you prepared to give up? And this is what I tell brides all the time. If you want to add that, not a problem at all. What are you prepared to give up? There's only so much money.
Yeah.
So yes.
I love this, Nikki. And like I say, I've been a persistent wedding dodger. And every time we have conversations, I'm like, ooh, maybe I will get married.
There's even a section on eloping.
I kind of want to plan your wedding today just for the heck of it. Okay, so Nikki, I think this has been really, really vital and empowering. What other questions should we be asking when it comes to planning a wedding in the current moment?
I think we've covered one of the most important things, which is you have to be flexible.
Yeah.
While it feels very personal to you, it's impacting everyone.
Yeah.
So especially if you're postponing, let's support the people that you've already hired to make sure that they are around next year when you come to do your wedding.
Wonderful.
So it really is about having a positive mindset. The only other thing I would say, especially because we are in such very strange times, our whole day has been turned upend, that if you are working from home, plan, just as you would plan your work day, stagger the times or structure the times that you're planning your wedding. Don't let it be this be all end all.
Yeah.
So allow yourself a certain amount and then put it down, because you have this amazing relationship with this person in your life, and they have to be with you for years and years and years, well after that wedding day. So the other thing, I remember Courtney and Chris, it was a wedding I did many, 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 many years ago. When they came to making decisions, I said to them halfway through, I said, how come you guys never disagree about anything? And they said to me, which clearly I've remembered, we know what's important to the other person. So if it is that the music is really important to the groom, the bride has other things that are really important to her, which may be the aesthetic.
Yeah.
So everyone feels heard.
Oh, I love that, Nikki. So it's like two lists, like what is important for you, the bride, what is important for the groom, and then you know where you're kind of negotiating. Well, if you want that, then I want this, and this is important to me, and actually I'm prepared to let that go because it's not kind of as important. Yes. But then you get to have this, which I know is really important to you.
Yes. And it is and when you look back on it, really marriage is about supporting each other. So why are you going head to head about something that you actually don't really even care about? So it really is, I think planning a wedding can be very, creating this incredible bond of support for each other.
So Nikki, I am loving the idea of planning your wedding in a day, because what I'm feeling that it does is it really helps you create structure that takes away this conflict and this stress that I know that you and I have both seen in, you more so in weddings because that's your life,
yeah.
But me like friends and family members. And I'm thinking, what I'm hearing is people plan your wedding today, they are going to actually start an amazing experience, not just on their wedding day, but leading up to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's beyond, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. It's just, how do you enjoy? Because you want to, people are it's not wedding day tears. It's like, oh, thank God the wedding planning's over. No, you want to enjoy every moment of that. And one of the best testimonials we've got is, we're so thrilled we're now married. We're devastated that we don't get to, they don't get to connect with us anymore because they look forward to enjoying that planning experience. That's what I want. Yeah.
So Nikki, thank you for joining us today. You have given us time out, which I know, you've got lots of moving pieces at the minute as part of this whole process that we're all going through. Thank you so much. You're going to be able to find Nikki's details below in the blog, and you'll be going to be able to find Bermuda Bride and Something Blue, where you'll be able to find the path to plan your wedding today. Nikki, thank you so much. People are going to get so much out of what you have told them today. It's invaluable.
Well, thank you so much. And the world needs more love. So let's help people plan.
You are the person. Thanks very much. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.